Namaskar students. Today I am going to continue with the topic demand, and in this topic what we have done earlier till now is a meaning of demand, the determinants of individual and market demand. Today I am going to tell you the diagrammatic presentation related to the individual and market demand, then what is law of demand. So keeping in mind the meaning of demand which I told you, we are going to understand a law of demand, all its assumptions as well as the differences between substitute good and complementary good, and the difference between normal good and inferior good. So we are going to begin. So students, here we start. This is what the meaning of demand, which we have already studied, the types of demand, the determinants of individual demand, then the determinants of market demand, and today I'm going to tell you the diagram related to individual and market demand. Students, as we can see in figure 1 that the person A's demand and the person B's demand is an individual demand, and together person A and B's demand is equal to market demand. That means when you add the demand of A and B, it becomes the market demand. So as we can see in the diagram that the demand of person A, the demand curve is downward sloping steeper. Similarly for person B it is steeper. But when you look at the market demand, it is flatter in nature. So market demand, why is it flatter? Because market demand is a summation of individual demand, and that is the reason it is flatter in nature. Now students, we talk about the law of demand. So what do you understand by the term law of demand? Law of demand states the inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded, keeping other factors constant. Now, why do we say inverse relationship? As I have taken an example in the previous session of tomatoes. Now, if the tomatoes are priced at rupees 20, you are purchasing 1 kg. But just immediately the very next day, the price of tomato gets double, that is rupees 40 per kg. So what will you do? You are going to demand less quantum of tomatoes. So that is the reason we say that it states the inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded. That means and quantity, whatever you are demanding along with price, it establishes an inverse relationship, that is higher the price, less is the demand, lower the price, more is the demand. And we say here keeping other factors constant. Now what do we understand by the term keeping other factors constant? That means we are taking certain assumptions to study the law of demand. And why are we taking these assumptions? The reason behind, if all the factors move together, so you end up studying law of demand. How? Let's take an example. Suppose if I say if the price rises, the demand falls. But what if the person's income is very high? So this rise in price will not affect that person's demand. So in that case, the law of demand does not hold true. So in this case, it is important that when you study law of demand, you have to keep certain factors constant. And these certain factors which you are keeping constant are also known as assumptions to the law of demand. And even we use a different terminology. In economics, we are using it. Even in your examination, you may get a question in related to the same. A term in Latin language represents other factors constant, and that is ceteris paribus. C-E-T-I-R-U-S, ceteris paribus, P-A-R-I-B-U-S. That is the Latin term for other factors constant. So what are the assumptions for law of demand? The first one is price of complementary goods remain constant. Very well aware you must be now with what is complementary goods. The goods which are incomplete without each other. Price of substitute goods remain constant. Substitute goods are those goods which can be used in place of one another like tea and coffee. Income of the consumer remains constant. Taste and preferences of the consumer should not change. and there should not be any expectation of change in the prices in future. So these are the assumptions to the law of demand. Now, in related to the assumption, we have a schedule and a diagram related to the law of demand. What do we see, children, in the schedule? Let me make it very clear. What is demand schedule? The schedule is a tabular representation. In economics, whenever we use the word schedule, so it represents a tabular representation, and whenever we use a term diagram. So diagram is a graphical representation in economics. So schedule and diagram. Tabular representation, graphical representation. So what do we see, children? Price per unit and quantity demanded in units are given in the schedule. So as you can see, as the price is falling by every rise in the quantity demanded. Like when the price was 10, the quantity demanded was 50 units. When the price has fallen to 8, it is 60 units. When the price is 6, 70 units, 4, 80 units, and 2, 90 units. That means every time the price falls, the quantity demanded rises. So that means price and demand establishes inverse relationship. And when two variables, like here two variables are price and demand, any two variables, when they establish inverse relationship, so we have a diagram which is always downward sloping, which I already explained to you when I taught you chapter number 1, that is when I taught you PPF topic and indifference curve. Like when two variables move in the opposite direction, so the outcome in the diagrammatic form will always be downward sloping. So this is a demand curve taking price always on the y-axis and quantity demanded on the x-axis, and the demand curve dt represented, which is a downward sloping curve. Now students, we are going to study the difference between normal good and inferior good. As I told you, let's take an example. It must be very much clear to you. Normal goods, for example, are those goods, whose demand increases with an increase in income, and inferior goods refer to those goods whose demand decreases with an increase in income. Like black and white television is an example of inferior good, and color television is an example of normal good. In case of normal good, as the income rises, so the demand of normal good also rises. So income effect is positive. In case of inferior good, it is negative. And if I talk about the relation between normal good and income, there is a direct relation. And in case of inferior good, there is an inverse relationship. Example is given as full cream milk and toned milk. So this is clear. Next, we talk about the differences between substitute goods and complementary goods. Substitute goods are those goods which can be used in place of one another to satisfy a particular want, and complementary goods which are used together, which are incomplete without each other. Substitute good, they have a competitive demand. Let's take an example to understand what does the word mean, competitive demand. Like Coke and Pepsi. If the prices of Coke rises, so people will purchase more of Pepsi. So they have a competition. On the basis of competition, on the basis of, prices, there is a demand of substitute good. But complementary goods, they have a joint demand. So that means if you demand a cup of tea, so sugar is complementary, right? Because you have a joint demand. Without sugar, you do not drink tea. If you have a car, so you demand petrol. So that is a joint demand. Price of one substitute, in case of substitute good, there is a positive relationship. As I explained to you earlier also, if price of substitute good rises, so the demand of the given good will rise. And in case of complementary good, if the price of complementary good rises, the demand of the given good will fall. So it has a negative relationship. Examples are mentioned: tea and coffee, Coke and Pepsi, tea and sugar, car and petrol. So that's all for this session, students. In the next session, I'm going to explain you about the changes in demand and changes in quantity demanded which takes place. And there are certain other differences which has to be explained to you. Till then, thank you so much.